So at the end of the day, I mean, you know, if you aggregate the budgets of all the other tiers of government, it doesn't add up to another 7 even. But even if it did, you will still then have, you know, 90% of the, you know, the spending that is required coming from, you know, not government. But then government, you know, the government budget and the policy, the underlying policies that you know it signifies are strong, give strong indicators to the rest of the economy, and they take some cue from it, and that's why it's important, therefore, that you know they know when to expect this budget. They know when, you know, they can then plan, you know, around it, but. We agreed then that if we were able to get the budget to the National Assembly in October, they too will work hard under pressure to get it done by December. Even though we didn't quite say when in October. Well, we'll take a moment now. When we return, we'll ask Mr. Akabueze precisely what can you and I expect will be implemented or done from this 2017 budget before it eventually winds up. In a moment, please stay with us. Mr. Ben Akabueze, who is the Director General Budget Office, is still with us in the studio. So just before we went on that break, I mean, we said when we come back, we'll talk about what Nigerians can still expect, considering the fact that we're still looking for funds to fund the capital part of our budget. And we've only been able to put 300 so far, just roughly around 300 billion. Yeah, and then the minister says from the Sukuk that was recently raised, another 100 billion will be released this week. What more can we look forward to? Well, again, as I said, it depends on how much and how quickly we can raise the required funding. There is a lot of appetite in the international market for Nigerian, you know, debt at the moment. And so if we were to get the necessary resolutions, we can quickly raise some funds, you know, and that much the Minister of Finance, you know, has indicated. And so, look, the government itself, the executive, you know, wants very badly to, you know, to increase capital spending. You know, we made it clear that that was the way, and a key way out of recession, to spend our way out of recession. And globally and empirically, that's what countries do when, you know, the economy is in recession. Until the advent of this administration, we didn't really have a policy around, you know, capital expenditure. This government has said from 2016, as a matter of policy, that we will commit a minimum of 30% of the annual budget to capital expenditure. Yeah, but and you know, 30%. We're not able to implement it. There's a huge question as to what the meaning of committing it was in the first instance. You know, so what we all need to then do is address the constraints as to why we're not able to, you know, to implement it. And the constraint right now, the principal one, is being able to get our borrowing plan and, you know, an action on it. They still ask, though, some people ask, but the government is recovering quite a bit of monies. What is going on with the recovery plan? Can't we fund a part of the budget with it? Of course, we are funding the part of the budget with it. The recoveries were included. The projected recoveries are part of the budget. The budget included 565 billion naira of projected recoveries. It's all inside the budget already. Did we meet that part of the budget, that part of the projection? Not yet, but then the year hasn't ended. So what precisely, I mean, you were hoping that before the end of this month, the 2018 budget would have been presented to the National Assembly. Is that right? That's correct. You're also hoping that the National Assembly will be able to pass the 2018 budget before December this year? Yes. If that doesn't happen, what then happens? Well, if that doesn't happen, then, you know, we'll continue as we have done in the, you know, recent past. The budget, the 2017 budget, will probably roll over into 2018 calendar period. What will be the implication of that? Well, I mean, the implication will simply be, again, a continuing
lack of predictability about fiscal and let me address the concerns that people have. Take from June 2017, when the 2017 budget was passed. If you just take from that a trajectory up to December 2018, you have approximately 18 months. During those 18 months, you have a choice either to operate the 2017 budget for 6 months up to December 2017, and then the 2018 budget for 12 months up to December, or to operate the 2017 budget for 12 months up to June next year, and then the 2018 budget for 6 months. Either way, you can't, even if we had all of the funding for the capital budget, even if we had all the 2.3 trillion now, we cannot release all of it, because there is also the absorptive capacity of the system. There are processes, if you try and release the money too soon without respect to regard for those processes and the capacity of even government. These projects have to be supervised and all of that. You end up with sub-optimization. Considering
the fact that we always see bickerings over any budget, I mean, since 1999 we've seen that happen even up till now. Did the projections of that committee, which you said was spearheaded by the Senate, did it take into consideration some of this, things that have now become a part, almost the bickering we usually see between the executive and the legislature over the budget?
Well, part of that bickering arises from the absence of, law guiding actions on different parts. The presence of discretion and not clearly defined procedures. That's all part of what that organic law sought to cure. To make things clearer, define who does what, define when by, and define the processes, and so some of the sources of the bickering will be basically eliminated.
Those were the recommendations of the committee?
Yes.
But they've not been passed into law, have they?
Not yet.
So we might still get some bickering over this 2018 budget if eventually it is presented.
Well, I mean, I hope not. First of all, bickering, there will always be what you call bickering. I mean, in the United States, bickering over the budget is, that's almost, the norm. But so bickering is not necessarily, ultimately, sometimes bickering just brings out the best. When, both sides agree and, debate the issues, and at the end of the day, as long as everyone is focused on what's best for Nigeria, the bickering can actually then produce the good results.
Well, I sincerely hope that in this 2018 budget we will not be seeing items such as furnishing the presidential kitchen again. But we have to thank you most kindly for coming on Sunrise Daily. Mr. Ben Akabueze is the Director General of the Budget Office.